Hey, what is up guys, it's Lewpac, back with another Albion Online video for you, and today we're going to be continuing our Rise of Avalon videos about the upcoming expansion. And this is a video that will concern a lot of people in Albion, because a ton of people have been super concerned about the following topic, and that of course is the artifact splitting of the new expansion. This is a thing that's going to affect the Destiny board, and what's happening is with the introduction of the new Avalonian weapons, they're actually going to be splitting up the nodes of various things on the Destiny board. So currently on the live server, you'll know that we do in fact have just 4 specializations for each class. So for example, the cloth shoes have the 3 different cloth shoes and then the artifact tier. The artifact tier node is 3 times harder to level up, but it does encompass a ton of different stuff. For armors, it encompasses 5 different nodes. So you've got the rune artifact, the soul artifact, the relic artifact, the royal artifact, and the shard artifact, which is the Avalonian one. For weapons, obviously it only covers 3. So there's slightly less value in the weapon node currently. It only covers the rune, soul, and relic. But obviously with the Rise of Avalon expansion, we're also getting the shard tier. Still no royal weapons, but that will bring the total number of artifact weapons in a line to 4, and the armors will be at 5. So what they're going to be doing in the Rise of Avalon is splitting the artifact tree up into separate nodes. So as you can see here on the test server, the Rise of Avalon client, we now have 4 weapon lines. And what's going to be happening is you're going to get the 3 existing artifacts will start at the same level as your current level on the live server. So if you have 100 artifact spec on the live server in a weapon, when the Rise of Avalon arrives, you'll have 100 in the 3 weapons, and the new Avalonian artifact will start at 0. So that's the one you'll have to level fresh because it's brand new. A similar thing is going to happen in your offhands. So you can see here the offhands are going to be split. I had 100 in the offhand torch, so I got 100 in all of these, and the new sacred scepter is going to start at 0, and I'll have to do that fresh. This doesn't actually increase the grind, just so you know. So where these are split into 3 new trees, these trees now only need the same as a normal weapon to level. So it's not triple the fame to level up like it would have been on the old artifact tree. So leveling a specific artifact is the same as leveling a specific normal weapon. However, there's more trees in total, so the total grind is longer. But fear not, you are going to get the IP bonuses from everything else. So there's been a slight change on that front as well, which I'll talk about very shortly. Firstly though, I will talk about how armors behave, because obviously we do have artifact armor already includes the Avalonian stuff. So with artifact armor, it's going to behave slightly differently because you're getting 5 nodes essentially. What's going to happen is if you have 100 in a node, you will get 83 in all of the new nodes. Do not worry though, you won't lose progress, because I'm going to explain how the IP is going to work and what this means in the grand scope of the game. But everybody's panicking about, should I dump into artifact now? Is the grind going to get harder? Am I wasting my time? Now for crafting, that's very different, and I'm going to talk about crafting in the second half of this video. But for weapons and armor, as in combat mastery, you don't need to panic. The amount of fame you have in your lines, you will still have the exact same power after the expansion drops, right? You're not going to be less powerful. There's not going to be more of a grind. There is additional trees coming into the game, so there will be more to grind, but you're not going to lose power with the expansion. Rushing higher doesn't really help you a whole lot right now. So in the normal client, when we talk about IP, people talk about being 400. So specialization in a particular item gives you item power. So first we'll look at the weapons, for example. So the potential is from your main weapon line. If my main weapon, for example, was ironclad, a maxed out ironclad, I would gain 200 plus 20 from the passives. So I'd gain 220 from ironclad, a bonus 20 for maxing out quarterstaff, a bonus 20 for maxing out double blade, a bonus 20 from maxing out artifact, and of course 20 from the mastery line, giving me a grand total of 300 IP bonus from specializations. In the Rise of Avalon client, these now become 0.1 bonus on the artifact lines. So for example, if my main weapon again was quarterstaff, then I would gain my 220 as normal from quarterstaff IP. I would gain 20 from here, 20 from ironclad, and 20 from double bladed. But I now gain 0.1 from each of the individual artifacts. So I would gain 10, 10, 10, 10. This brings my total effective maximum to 320. So overall, in Rise of Avalon, my character can now become more powerful than he was pre-Rise of Avalon. There's potentially more IP to be gained through specialization. Yes, there's an additional tree to grind, but the amount of people that have maxed out, they're not going to be worried about this. And of course, we can imagine if royal weapons ever come in, they will have a new tree and there'll be another 10 IP up for grabs, up to a total of 330. For the offhands, it's pretty similar. Instead of having 0.2 from one line, we have 4 lines with 0.1, so there's an extra 20 IP there. And the armors, because they have the royal variants, these actually go even higher. So you're going to get your main spec plus a bonus 50 instead of 20. So the theoretical max bonus specialization IP for armors is now 330. So to summarize, characters are going to have a higher cap on total power in the Rise of Avalon, but you don't need to panic and grind stuff now, because you're going to get the same effective power once the expansion drops. For armors, you are going to have to grind up the last bit again, but it's not a massive grind. You know, you can do it with, on shoes, you could do it with 1.6 million learning credits. On chess pieces, you can do it with 3.3 million learning credits. So it's not like you need to save up thousands or millions and millions and millions and millions of credits. You know, a few million will get you where you need to be on your main weapon. If you want to max everything, you are going to need to save a fair bit. But your weapons will retain their level. The only thing that will be unleveled will be the new tree. And of course, all of these new trees and the existing trees will now be as easy to level as a normal weapon. They won't be this like triple fame artifact anymore. So that's the summary on weapons and armor combat mastery. Basically, don't panic. However, crafting is very different. Because right now on the live server, we have exactly the same thing going on. You know, we have 3 base items and artifact, which is harder to level. That's absolutely fine. However, on the test server, it is indeed split up again. And royal armors have completely disappeared. They do not have a mastery. So royal armors will no longer give a specialization credit. And the artifacts are now split up. So continuing with the quarterstaffs, we can see we've now got Black Monk Crafter, Soul Scythe Crafter, Staff of Balance Crafter, and the new Grail Seeker Crafter. The exact same thing is going to happen with these armors on the live server as with the weapons. So whatever your spec is, that will be transferred to the new lines. For armors, I believe it will be split a little bit lower because there's an extra armor that you've already got credit for. So if you're 100 armor spec in artifacts, that's going to come down a little bit. If you're 100 spec artifact weapon crafter, the 3 existing artifacts will start at 100 and the new Avalonian artifact will start at 0. So at first glance, it seems like the system is exactly the same and you shouldn't panic. However, there's 2 important things to know about crafting. 1, we don't have fame credits for crafting. So if something is annoying to level in a combat tree, we just spend fame credits on it. We don't care. We fame something else that's easy to fame and we just put the credits in. We don't have that for crafting. Number 2, after the Rise of Avalon drops, you will only be able to level a specific artifact tree with that specific artifact. Whereas on the live server, you can level artifact crafting with any of the artifact weapons. So I can, for example, think of something with a really bad rune tier artifact. For example, fire staffs, right? Brimstones and blazings are pretty desirable for fire staffs. So it's quite expensive to buy the artifacts for those and level up. Wildfires though, the rune tier artifact, are hot garbage. So I can spam those quite cheaply because I can get hold of the artifact quite cheaply. This will give me levels in artifact which will then carry over to brimstone and blazing. After Rise of Avalon, I can only level blazing staff by crafting blazing staffs. So artifact crafting will become a lot harder because you need to do each one specifically. Yes, each one will level quicker, but you won't have the luxury of being able to level any artifact with any of the artifacts from that line, if that makes sense. Like, you have to do it specifically rather than just being able to buy whatever's cheapest. So this is a big deal for crafters. If you are a heavy crafter or you're planning on going hard in a particular craft, I would recommend that you level your artifact as much as possible before Rise of Avalon drops. You will thank me later because it's going to become a lot harder to get those high spec crafting. Because of course, the undesirable stuff that you're using to level artifact, you're not even going to want to level in Rise of Avalon because it's undesirable. It's not a good profit making item. Everybody's going to want to craft the meta stuff. They want to level the meta stuff, which is going to be very expensive. So for crafters, it's very important that if you are into this sort of thing, you get going quickly. Get up there as quick as possible and start leveling your artifact specs before the Rise of Avalon drops. The fame split's going to affect you completely differently than it will on the weapon lines. If you're just a combat person, don't panic. You know, get some fame credits banked if you want to max. Be ready for the expansion, but don't think that you have to grind like a madman until the expansion drops. You will retain the same level of power post-expansion as you had pre-expansion. If you want to check this out some more, I've got some handy footage of it broken down on the forums. I'll post a link to this forum post by the devs in the comments, which explains it further. But I hope this is good information for you guys, because I know a lot of people were very confused about the artifact split and the destiny board split, and they were super worried about how it was going to end up. So that should be everything you need to know on this topic. Next up, we'll be taking an in-depth look at the roads of Avalon. I've done a huge playtest here, and I'll be bringing you everything you need to know about this in my next Rise of Avalon video. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you next time.